Yo, 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 Don Mafia. Welcome to yet a very special edition of the Don Mafia Report. It would be an alternate reality if I didn't at least put out one video a week with a title of blank is disrespecting the Buffalo Bills. But that's the life we live, guys. That's the life we live as Buffalo Bills fans. And no, it's not pure football foolishness. It's not ESPN. It's not Fox Sports. It just so happens to be EA Sports, the creators of the game that is about to be released, Madden 21. Now, we all know that I am a god at Madden, so naturally, I had to make a video on this. Recently, Madden School came out, or leaked, the Buffalo Bills ratings. They ended up leaking it over to Syracuse.com. This is where I ended up getting this information. Thank you, Syracuse.com. Thank you, Madden School, for this. As always, a lot of Buffalo Bills players are being overlooked. I'm not going to go through the entire lists. However, I did want to pick out a couple of names that really pissed me off, some of which I thought that got absolutely snubbed with atrocious their ratings are, and then a couple that I think maybe might even be a little too high. So without further ado, let's just dive right on into this. And so right when you look at it, the overall rating for the Buffalo Bills roster is sitting at an 81. Now, I really can't blame EA Sports because most of the media never covers Buffalo in general. But, I think 81 is around, I'd say, a relatively fair score. Maybe put us at an 83, 84. I think as the season progresses, midway through, Madden's going to smarten up and get us around that area itself. Starting off with the offense, they have us at a flat 80. In my opinion, I think that this offense needs to at least be up a couple of points. People really don't understand how much of an impact that the addition of Stefon Diggs is going to make for this team, right? In my opinion, I really think that it's not only going to open up the run game, it's going to allow our receivers from 2019 to match up against lesser talent and therefore absolutely explode. I think that a lot of people, they really aren't putting that into the perspective. Same thing with Zach Moss. Now that Devin Singletary doesn't have Frank Gore behind him, who in essence is father time, it's going to open up the run game a little bit more, and we're going to see a lot more out of Devin Singletary itself. And then if Josh ends up staying at the trajectory that he has with the progression that he has made from his rookie year in 2018 to present day, then in my opinion, I think the score on offense should be a little closer to 84. I'd say about 84. So next is the defense is sitting at an 83. And in my opinion, this is the first thing that absolutely pissed me off. Number one, you're telling me that arguably the best defense in the league, is sitting at an 83. You're absolutely out of your mind. Now, granted, this probably has to do with the fact that a lot of our superstars on defense were slept on and were snubbed in essence, hence why we are an 83, but we'll go on ahead and we'll get down to that. In my opinion, before the preseason is concerned, I think the Buffalo Bills defense at the very, very, very least should be sitting at an 87. All right, so first rating that really stood out to me was Stefon Diggs. He's sitting at a 92. He's one of our two superstar X factors on the game in Madden 21. 92, I think that I could say that that is fair. There's definitely a lot of questions to see how he's going to be able to make the transition to an entire different offensive playbook. I think 92 is fair, maybe a point or two higher, but like I said, these ratings adjust as the season progresses. And so far, his X Factor ability is rack 'em up. And then his abilities that come with the X Factor and our jukebox, and that makes a lot of sense because we've all seen his workout videos and how crazy the dude's footwork is. And then mid in elite, basically being an absolute stud when it comes to midfield and routes. And that makes a lot of sense because that's where Josh Allen thrives, is those short to medium sized passes. All right, next one, Trey White, 89. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the very first what the moment when I was reading this article. And what makes this even more ridiculous is the fact that Stephon Gilmore is a 99 overall in Madden 21. You're telling me that Trey White, who, mind you, had practically identical statistics to Stephon Gilmore in 2019, is 10 full points below him. Honestly, let's take a look at some of the comparisons of the stats from 2019. Gilmore, 38 receptions allowed on 82 targets for 444 yards, 152 air yards, no touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and 32.8% pass rating allowed. White, 44 completions allowed on 84 targets, for 532 yards, 202 air yards, no touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and a 43.9 passer rating allowed. Now, don't get me wrong, Gilmore definitely has the edge as far as from a statistics standpoint, but I mean, you're telling me that he's 10 full points below? At the very least, Trey White should be sitting at a 93 or a 94. Next is going to be my boy Devin Singletary. I also think that he personally ended up getting snubbed. He's sitting at an 83 this year, and honestly, I can't blame EA. It's not like Buffalo Bills has been on the national stage right up until recently. But I mean, what a lot of people aren't considering are two factors. Number one, Devin Singletary really only got going halfway through the 2019 season. He only started 8 games, he appeared in 12, and he still ended up racking 775 yards, 194 receiving yards, and a whopping 5.1 yards per carry. Now, let's say, for example, that he started all 16 games, then that stat line wouldn't be anything to snuff at, right? But dude, man, like I said, started in the middle of the season, and he had Frank Gore as his running back partner. Now that you add a running back like Zach Moss that's going to be sharing the backfield with him, in my opinion, that's only going to make Devin Singletary better. And just based off of pure probability, if Devin starts all 16 games and avoids injury, then there's no doubt in my mind that dude man's going to go on ahead and rush for over 1,000 yards and have a balling season. I think 83 is a little too low. I'd probably give him an 86. Next is Tremaine Edmonds. In my opinion, he's the second most slept on player on the Buffalo Bills. I mean, you look at the guy, he's absolutely the quarterback of the defense. Last year, he racked up 115 tackles. He made the Pro Bowl for only his second year in the entire league. I mean, I think an 80 is far too low, especially once you compare to the other middle linebackers in the game and in the NFL itself. A lot of them that really aren't putting up the exact same numbers as Tremaine Edmonds. They're getting a lot more love than he is. Madden here only has him as a flat 80. Like I said, he has a lot to prove. He's made crazy progression, and it's been slept on. Not a lot of people talk about Tremaine Edmonds, so I guess I can't blame them. But then again, EA, it is your job to watch football, and apparently you don't. I think Edmonds should be sitting at about like an 82. And then I think as the season progresses, hopefully he'll be able to get up into the high 80s as well. Next snub is going to be Matt Milano. They have him sitting at a 79. And once again, Matt Milano is another slept-on Bill. National media doesn't talk about him. The only people that care about Matt Milano are people that love the Buffalo Bills. And a 79, in my opinion, is not justified. I mean, the one thing that I like pointing out is exactly how much our defense struggled when Matt Milano was not on the field. Like that game when we played against the Philadelphia Eagles, and we absolutely got smoked by Miles Sanders and his running back committee. We absolutely got destroyed, and the key factor was that Matt Milano was not on that field. I think Matt Milano, once you take him out of our defense, there is a clear, significant hole. I think that a 79 is a bit too low. I mean, last year he ended up racking 105 tackles. He was wildly effective, and he was a very important piece of our defense. Once you take him out, the Buffalo Bills defense is in trouble. I think Matt Milano should be a little closer to an 82, 83. Next, Josh Allen, 77. You got to be kidding me. Just kidding. I mean, I definitely understand that Josh Allen was a project going in to the NFL, especially in 2018. I guess a cherry on top is the fact that they gave Josh Allen the most throwing power in the entire game. But I mean, that's really not something to be too excited about. He had it in Madden 20 as well. He had 99 throw power already. But I mean, 77 was his exact rating in Madden 20. And in my opinion, I think that they should have thrown the dude a bone. Like, I mean, maybe at the very least have him at like a low 80. I mean, you just need to look at his progression, right? Like, there's clear differences between the 2018 and the 2019 season itself. I mean, sure, there's a lot of unanswered questions about whether or not that he's been able to sort of work on his accuracy with the deep ball, rather. But like I said previously, Josh Allen absolutely thrives when it comes down to short and medium-sized passes, and you really can't put a number on how clutch the dude is for not only fourth quarter comebacks, but just his overall clutchness when it comes to like serious scenarios. I think that 77 is a bit too low. I'm not going to go ahead and be a fanboy and say that he needs to be like a 99 superstar X Factor, but I think at the very least, dude, man should be at an 80. And so next up is Mario Addison. They have him sitting at a 76. Now, you're going to tell me that a guy who has racked up 9+ sacks for the past 4 years is going to be a 76. Mario Addison, in my opinion, is going to be one of our starting defensive ends. I think that now he's making the progression into a better defensive scheme, in my opinion, compared to the Carolina Panthers. He's only going to thrive once again. Now, in this game, they have Jerry Hughes sitting at an 83, which I really didn't understand because he's been showing signs of regression throughout his career. Last year was not an impressive year from him by any means, and Mario Addison just seemed to be outperforming him in just about every single statistic possible. As far as where I see Mario Addison, I think that him and Jerry Hughes' number need to switch. I think Mario Addison needs to be an 83, and then I think Jerry Hughes needs to be a 77. Next is going to be Lee Smith, 73. Surprisingly, I don't think this is snubbed. I think that they did the homie a favor. 73 is a little bit of a stretch in my opinion, and I normally wouldn't say that, but they just so happen to have Lee Smith as the highest ranked tight end on our roster. Now, don't get me wrong, dude man is a tremendous blocker when he's not causing the Buffalo Bills a 15-yard penalty somehow. But last year, dude man only had 4 receptions for a total of 31 yards. When you compare that to Dawson Knox, who is rated a 71, and he received for over 300-something yards and 28 receptions. Really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I know that Dawson Knox ended up having issues with right in the dropping category, but I mean, as far as ranking Lee Smith over him, it just really doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think that Lee Smith, I wouldn't say that he shouldn't be a 73, but I think that Dawson Knox should be ranked higher than him, whether or not that it's a 74 or a 75. Last but not least, this is probably the most laughable ranking on the face of the planet, and if I was him, I would be absolutely fucking pissed. Reed Ferguson, the homie, 35. I mean, you have the audacity. You have the audacity to give my dude a 35 overall. I can't remember the last time that Reed Ferguson botched a snap. I really can't. I mean, a 35, that's like pulling me out of the stands and being like, Dan, we need you to run slot receiver for this next drive. I mean, I'd probably have a 35 in Madden if I was on there. You know what I mean? 35 is a little bit of a snub, but whatever. You know, Don Mafia, thank you for tuning in to this very painful edition of the Don Mafia Report. I'm going to link the article that I found in the description. Feel free to look over it. Let me know what player you think got snubbed, what players you think should be ranked higher, ranked lower. I really want to hear your opinion on that. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, let's go Buffalo.